Once again, I'm joined on this particular episode by my friend, my horse, and that is MC Hammer. That's his barn name, and he is playing with the cat horse, and just a real nice partner to have. Stand still while I do these, but I did want to talk today about the value of human life, and I'm speaking about the value of unborn human life. There are passages in the Bible, several of them, that we want to look at, and I'll just notice a couple of them in the few moments that I want to share with you. But one of them is Psalms 139, verses 13 through 15. And before we look at it, I might say this, that there's a huge political, religious, cultural divide in our country today. And that divide probably is more clearly and sharply defined by the issue of abortion. And the value of human life, the unborn human life, probably more defines the entire cultural wars and cultural divides in our country than anything else. And I say that because sometimes people will say, well, you know what, you on the right are a one-issue oriented people, and well, first of all, that's not the truth. Of course, there are many issues that we talk about and the Bible relates to and the Bible addresses, but let's just stop here and think about this. What can be more important than life or death? What can be more important than whether to save a life or to kill a life? If that doesn't really define the issues in the country, then I don't know what will. But let's look at this passage, Psalms 139, and the verses are 13 through 15. Here, David is doing the writing, and he tells us, speaking to God in a prayer, he says, "You formed my inward parts, and you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise your name, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." What did David have to say? He said, God, you made me in my mother's womb. You knitted me together. That gives us the picture of an all-powerful deity who is creating life in the womb. He goes on to tell us basically the same thing. He says, my frame, in the next two verses, my frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Here's the picture of intricate weaving together of human life, and the words imply the bones, the sinews, that which makes a human life human, as well as the moral sensitivity, the rational capacity that people have. All of these are formed in the mother's womb. So David had to say in Psalms 139, verses 13 through 15. The passage clearly shows that life begins at conception, and that is that God has his hand on every human life, even in the womb. Here's another passage in which Jeremiah writes, chapter 1 and verse 5, speaking that God tells him that I knew thee even before you were born. I knew thee in your mother's womb. God knows people in their mother's womb. Or in the New Testament we have, for example, in Luke chapter 1, verse 41, we have Mary, the mother of John the Baptizer, and John was referred to as a babe in the mother's womb by the Greek word brephos. It's exactly the same word that is used in Luke chapter 2 and verse 12 to refer to baby Jesus in the manger. So we have the same word used, brephos, used to refer to an unborn baby in the mother's womb, as well as a babe that has already been born. The Bible makes no distinction between life in the womb and out of the womb. Not only so, but the Old Testament law in Exodus chapter 21 recognized that if a woman has a life in the womb, a babe in the womb, and that babe is injured by someone, then the same penalties apply to the person doing the injury as if the baby had already been born and it was a person that was an adult that was being injured. There is no distinction in the Bible between unborn and born life. The Bible and God's Word is very, very clear. And I think people really know that instinctively. I think people really, even on the left, I think they really know that instinctively. You can just listen to how the political debates and the religious debates formulate and how things percolate around the different words that are used, and you'll see that people generally understand really what the point is. Here's something else interesting to think about, and that is, throughout history, all the way back to the Code of Hammurabi, what was that, 1800 years before Christ? Hammurabi even that was in the ancient East. He had codes in the law against abortion, against killing babes in the womb. So also did Tiglath-Pileser. Who was Tiglath-Pileser? Tiglath-Pileser was a cruel and horrible Assyrian king. That is the forerunner of the Iranian people, the Assyrians. And Tiglath-Pileser, this was about 800 years BC, and he was so cruel that he would, when he killed people in different cities, he would behead them, and he put all their heads stacked together in a pyramid. That's pretty cruel. Even Tiglath-Pileser had laws in his country against taking the life of the unborn. Remarkable, isn't it? Because now when we come to America, in 1973, the Roe versus Wade decision, as well as another court decision, from that point forward, do you know from that day to today, there have been 60 million babes murdered in the mother's womb, primarily minority children. 60 million. But the sad element of it is that the Supreme Court in 1973 tells us that a mother's what is called right to privacy, that's how they wanted to frame abortion, right to privacy has much more value than a fetus, what they called a fetus in the womb. A right to privacy has more value. And they even made this statement: if we were, and I'm paraphrasing it, the court would say it, something similar to this. They even said, if we were to confess that this is life, a human life in the womb, then that human life would be protected by the 14th Amendment. How do you like that? Well, the point is, they knew exactly what they were doing. And this is what's taking place in our country today. So it is so sad that we have seen the murder of the unborn. This is an issue that defines the cultural divide in our country between the right and the left. People will say, well, a woman should have a right over her own body. That's the point. It's not about her own body, is it? Do you know that a babe in the womb is its own person? As a matter of fact, 40 days, the baby has brain waves, fingerprints in a number of weeks, its own blood type in about 3 weeks, its own personality. Male or female, a woman might have a baby boy in her, that's not part of her body. That's a different human being. And so all the arguments on the left that tell us, well, how about the right to privacy, or how about if the child is born and it might be abused if the mother doesn't want it? Well, that's assuming that's not human life, isn't it? Because murdering the child in the womb, that's really the ultimate abuse, isn't it? As a matter of fact, here's another fact I want to leave you with, and that is, do you know since 1973, between 1973 actually, and 1982, child abuse increased 500% in America. Why? Because now people, those on the left, have a devaluing of human life. If you want to be for the Bible, if you want to ride for the Bible brand, you'll recognize that life begins at conception, and we honor human life. That is a big cultural divide in America. That's what I mean by riding for the Bible brand.